All right, today, serious and silliness subscribers. I got probably one of the most popular bodybuilders on the planet today. And it comes from a great line of genetics. Sergio Oliva Jr. What's up, man?
What's up, man? And you said the name right too. That's cool, man.
Yeah. Well, my last name is Livia, so I can't really screw it up.
Yeah. Touche.
Yeah. So I'm wearing your shirt.
Nice. I love it. Look at that.
Yep. So I figure I'll get the plugs out of the way at the beginning.
Cool.
What's your clothing line? Obviously, it's Victory, but where can people reach it?
Victoryclothing.com.
Okay, I'll make sure to put that in the comment section so people can reach out to you.
Cool.
And I bought 2 products from your Cosmic Industries line.
Oh yeah, which 2 did you get? You got the pre-workout.
I got the pre-workout, which I only use 2 types. Now this is one of them. The other one is falling a second behind. But I use one. This one is honestly excellent. For me, it's like some of them were too strong, some of them weren't. I couldn't feel it all. This one is perfect. 2 scoops of this, and I'm ready to go. And I tried your whey protein.
Oh, which way would you get? Chocolate?
The Milky Way. And honestly, this is pretty much the cream of the crop, the best grade whey you could possibly get, right?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I really wanted to start this company. I had a lot of stomach issues and just digestion problems with a lot of supplements. So a lot of times when I'd be sponsored by a company, I would actually be taking other companies because it just worked better with my body. So that was another benefit of doing my own thing, that now I don't have to lie, or whatever I want, I can just make.
Right. And a lot of guys, especially when they start out with bodybuilding, they it's all about the almighty dollar. They're broke. But I mean, honestly, if you go to a pharmacy or ShopRite and buy some crap, you could tell the difference. There's a big difference between the $20 whey protein and a product like yours, which is pretty much like I said, the best grade protein you could possibly get. You spend a few bucks more, but it's really, and I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's ass.
No, but you're right. In the long run, man. I mean, the whole reason we're doing this is for gains.
It's really worth it. It's really worth spending the money a little bit. Just a little extra money, and it goes a long way.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
So you look jacked. How much are you weighing right now?
I think 305, 304.
Really? How tall are you?
5'11".
Wow. So I've never met you in person, but anybody I have spoken to that met you in person, like at expos, they always talk about how surprisingly, not that you big like a bodybuilder, how surprisingly big as a human being you are.
Cool. That's cool. I never heard that.
Really? I've heard guys talk about how wide you are and shoulders are out to here. And
physically I've heard, because I don't translate on Instagram or on social media the right way. I feel like on Instagram I look a lot different than what I am in real life, and that's why that benefits me on stage. Is I think when I put posing trunks and stand next to other guys, I think it's just a glaring difference than the other shorter guys that. So sometimes I think that gives me the edge. I just never heard the larger in life kind of like me as a person. That's cool.
Yeah. I've heard of nothing but good things. Well, the one good thing about having my own podcast is I could actually reach out to the people I want to interview and people that I admire instead of people I have to, right? Because there are certain bodybuilders or powerlifters that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm like, I'll skip that one.
Right.
So everybody that I've interviewed so far, I've admired greatly, and that's the truth. That's the benefit of having your own podcast. So what's on the agenda for you? What's the next show for you?
I'm gonna do the Chicago Pro.
That's like your show. I mean, I know that you didn't win it, or you came in second, but you're from Chicago. Your father lived in Chicago. You grew up in Chicago, so that's like your backyard.
Yeah, it's not going to be in Chicago. It's in Atlanta this year because of COVID. So that sucks. But I'm still going at it like it's in Chicago. Absolutely.
Good.
I'll be the only person from Chicago doing it, so I got to represent. But mostly just not being able to do a show. It's funny because I keep saying I didn't do a show last year, but I did do a show last year. It just seems like it was 2 years ago because of COVID.
Right.
So after doing the Arnold and then going to Australia and then that show being canceled and the border being closed and being stuck out there for 3 months, it was hard for me to do a show to qualify for the Olympia. So this show is just really important for me to kind of get back and also maybe remind a lot of people that I would have been up there. I just wasn't there. That's all.
Right. Well, a lot of people backed out last year, and understandably so. It was a big pain in the ass last year. It was like a shit show. Nobody knew what was going on last year.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say to you? I totally forgot. I had a mind fart. Sorry about that.
Getting ready for Chicago, my next show.
Oh yeah, right. Good. Okay, good. Yeah. So you probably. Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Who are you? Do you know any of the other competitors?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a stacked show. Actually, all the shows are going to be stacked this year because a lot of shows are canceled, and then because of the border issues with Canada, those two shows are canceled. So those were two big shows that kept a lot of the Canadian guys from coming into Chicago and in New York. So it's all going to be flooded. So Akeem will be doing Chicago. Hunter's doing Chicago. I think Charles Griffin's doing Chicago. So yeah, anyone really can win it. Anyone.
Yeah, it's you got your work cut out for you, but you've shown that you could beat these guys in the past. You've won you won the New York Pro when nobody really thought you were going to win the New York Pro. You were like a new pro,
right?
And then you came in second in the Chicago, right? You came in second twice that year, right? Am I right?
Yeah, in Tampa. Yeah, that's how I went to the Olympia. It was 2 second places.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, it was Tampa and Chicago.
And Chicago, you lost to who? Charles?
Michael Lockett.
Oh my God! Whatever happened to him? I haven't heard from him. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might be done.
Really, he had amazing physique. Whatever. But and that being said, you also came in 5th at the Arnold last year,
right?
And that's So basically, what you're winning that show and winning 5th in the Arnold, winning the New York Pro, you're basically saying I could beat pretty much anybody at this point if everything falls in the right places.
Yeah, on my level, and I haven't lost to anyone on my level. I mean, if it's not Bonac, Rolly, Rami, Hadi,
right? That's a given. Yeah,
of course, right. But yeah, on my level, and that's the whole point, is that I should win the Chicago show because I do feel that I am kind of one of the best of my generation. So I need to kind of be leading the pack.
It certainly seems that way, and you know, from the couple of shows that I've watched, you come in chiseled. You make sure you're in shape.
Yeah, that's just a Cito. I can't even take credit for that.
I was about to ask you if you're still working with him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Since I've been an amateur,
he seems to be like. I mean, what's amazing with me about Aceto is trainers come and go. Like they're usually like there's trainers that are trendy. Like for a while it was George Farron. I know he got cancer and he had to kind of get over it. And then for a while it was kind of Hani Ramrod and he's kind of there. And now you have like a couple of new guys like I forgot Patrick something or other and Matt Jackson. But Aceto has been like steadfast since Jay Cutler. Like he has not gone anywhere since Jay Cutler. He's like if you got him in your corner, you're in good hands, period.
Right. And I think that's why I'm able to be so confident is that I know that he's doing all the hard work.
Yeah. Well, he's just, I don't know about that. You're doing the work.
Dealing with me is pretty hard. It's hard. I'm a nutcase. It's for sure. And that's really the best thing about him is even if I found another coach that, let's say, somehow knew the science a little bit better, I still would stay with Chris because of how he makes me feel. I have a lot of issues when it comes leading up to the show with just pressure and just my cortisol levels and just my anxiety is just kind of through the roof. And that's going to be something that I think is just going to fix itself over time. As I do better and I place better, I'll automatically feel more confident doing shows. And then I'm just going to do better because I'm not holding water or looking worse because of it. But I've only gotten this far because before the show, he's just such a calm kind of demeanor and he's just really a positive person. So, and at the same time, a no bullshit person, because you can have people around you that aren't, filled with drama or a distraction, but then they still are just kind of blowing smoke up your ass all the time, and you really need, especially on this level, you have to know really where you are. You being the best guy, that's a big issue. What's going on in the fitness industry is some guys are the best in their gym or the best in their region or even the best in their state. And then it just makes you feel a type of way. And the people surrounding you are telling you, you're the biggest person and you have the best this and you look great. And then you actually do a show compared to other people that are like on the same level as you or greater. and then it's just this reality check. And everyone's going to have that. Everyone who competes has that. And then I think it comes down to, are you able to take that hit in the mouth, swallow it, and then learn from it? Or are you just going to kind of like use excuses why someone won? Is it politics, or did you just mess up something with, just some kind of bullshit? And that's where people either get better and then you see them become some of the best in the world, or the same guys you grew up with and they're the same biggest guy at the gym, and they just kind of have their fanboys at the gym, but really ultimately never really doing anything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because, I've never made it past, a national level. I was, genetically, I'm not as gifted. I fell in love with bodybuilding very young, but to basically piggyback what you're saying, the majority of amateur bodybuilders, physique guys, men's physique, even the girls.
Classic physique, right?
The girls. I'm sorry, yeah, classic physique, and the girls even more so. They lose every excuse in the book. It's never, oh man, I screwed this up, I got to go back to the drawing board. But it seems like the guys that kind of pursue the sport have that mentality, like somebody like yourself, or somebody like Fuad, or you go down the road, unless you're one of those freaks of nature that just make it to the top like that because you're just destined, right? Like a Phil Heath, who is just like boom, right to the top. But most of the guys that I see from being a fan that progress greatly, take a look within and say, okay, what do I got to do to fix this? And the people that don't, they just fall off, and they just fall off, and they just fall off. Right. But everybody seems to think that bodybuilding started with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy made tremendous, he did tremendous things with bodybuilding and made it mainstream for a little while and did great things. I mean, I don't know anybody else in the world in history that did what he did, move to a country, learn the language, Mr. Olympia, movie star.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, right. But your father's backstory, I think, is even more impressive.
It's pretty close, right? The only difference is that he didn't become world famous in acting. But yeah, having to escape from Cuba and kind of having Castro try and kill him. And really, no matter what, coming at, what did Arnold come at? He came at like 17 to this country, something like that.
Yeah.
Coming to this country at 17, my dad also came around that same age. But being white and being what everyone considers black,
that's
especially
right,
in the 60s,
yes,
I just couldn't imagine. And me and him we've never really seen eye to eye. But the more that I kind of get into the sport, and even just kind of an adult, but I guess that's the way it works with your parents, right? You only realize what they went through when you get older.
Right.
But I couldn't imagine if, while I'm trying to prep, like if I'm prepping for a show and I have a fight with a girlfriend or just any kind of issue, it throws me off. Like it's just fucking up my diet. I'm maybe missing the gym. I can't even imagine dealing with poverty and racist people, like on a level where, because like the racism that we talk about today with what's going on, it's actually not even 1% of what it was in the 60s. It was almost kind of cool.
I only know from what I've read and what I know.
Right.
I have to agree.
Yeah, I can't imagine when it was almost cool to treat people a certain type of way, and then throw in that he can't even be like taken in to black people because he doesn't speak English.
Yeah, because he's Spanish.
So right, yeah. At least kind of like back then they would have, their people and take care of them, but yeah, he really didn't have really much. And I can't imagine what he was going through doing that. And then to even want to pursue something like that, like a world renowned, because first he was doing powerlifting.
Right.
And I get that. I get like lifting weights, not to like make it sound like it's not a hard thing to do, but it is a lot more simple. You just work on your PR, you get your weight up to a certain weight, and that's it. It's not kind of like this 24-hour job that you have to do with bodybuilding. It's a completely different lifestyle. So I understand him doing it to get out of Cuba, use that as an escape to go to the Olympics and stuff like that. But yeah, doing bodybuilding, I don't even know how that must have started for him. I know how it did. I know someone came up to him, and that's how it works. Someone comes up to you, hey, you should do a bodybuilding show, etc. But I just don't know how in his mindset, when he's working 5 jobs and all that he's thinking, let me work on my rear delts just
Right, right,
random
right,
stuff.
right, 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 right.
So yeah, so I really, no one's gonna ever know. That's the crazy thing, is that
Yeah.
even in his book, you can buy his book and he talks about it, but it's not the same
No,
as,
it's not, and I don't think he gets enough credit. I really don't. As far as being a bodybuilder and as far as where he came from, because I mean, just a little bit of research I was doing last night. He fought in the revolution in Cuba, right?
right.
When he was only 16. Am I accurate?
Yeah, it was something like that. Uh-huh.
And he fought on the side of Batista and lost to Fidel Castro, right?
Right.
In that war. And his escape was amazing. Do you care to tell that story, or you want me to just regurgitate what I've read?
Well, more or less that, they were supposed to go to the Pan American Games for, because that back then Cuba was competing in the Olympics. There was a while where Cuba wasn't even in the Olympics anymore. So they were going, and then when, instead of going to, I don't know, like the training camp or wherever they were supposed to go, he tried to escape. He tried to find the embassy.
Yeah.
And he actually had given up. He couldn't find it. And then he saw like a little churro stand, and he went to just go get one. And then when he went to get one, he saw the embassy and like booked it and ran for it. But then because he was escaping, all the other athletes were like, man, we're going to escape too. So now it looks like my dad was just this whole orchestrator of this whole escape plan from the beginning, when really he was just going to leave himself.
Right.
So then that's why Castro got mad and thought he orchestrated the whole thing and tried to kill him in Miami. And
Wow.
And it's crazy because, yeah, if Castro didn't try and kill my dad, they would have never put him into protective services and moved him to Chicago, which he
Is that how
therefore
he got to? I didn't know that's how he got to
Right.
Chicago.
There's no way a Cuban would ever leave Miami and go to negative 25-degree weather.
Right, right.
But then, he met my mom, so it's kind of cool.
Okay. And then when he was in Chicago, he was working at a steel mill, right?
Like his first job. Yeah, it was he had a bunch of jobs. It was like a steel mill, and then he worked at like a meat place.
This is what I mean by your father is the definition of genetic freak. From what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was working 10 to 12 hours a day, hard labor, and then he would go to the gym 2 to 3 hours at night. I don't know anybody, and I'm sure back then the dieting wasn't the same, and the food and
of course not
weren't the same. So here's this man who's working 10, 12 hours, I'm sure breaking his butt, trying to earn a living, and then going to the gym and putting on this extraordinary amount of muscle. Anybody else would wither away.
Yeah, right. You would lose muscle.
Yeah. And then he goes to Chicago in 64.
I don't even know.
I think so.
Exactly. I don't exactly know. Yeah.
Anyway, by 67, he's Mr. Olympia. I mean,
right.
But that's just there are, like I said before, like a Phil Heath, there are just certain people that are meant to be bodybuilders and the best of the best. And your dad was clearly one of them. Yeah. Because in those conditions, I can't, like you said, I don't understand how he could possibly do that, And he was also one of the only bodybuilders that beat Schwarzenegger.
Well, at the Olympia, he's the only one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they always do that. They do that with like someone who beat Michael Jordan, just like random. There's always some guy who beat someone when they really weren't good. So yeah, so Frank Zane technically beat Arnold as well. Someone else, another no name beat Arnold. But while Arnold was, like who he was, that was the only time he ever lost.
Right.
It's easy to beat him as a kid, right? But really, as the actual Arnold we know, yeah, he only lost once. And it's crazy because he would have also a tie for the record for the most if he had one.
Right, that's right.
Because then he would have 8, and Lee Haney would have 8, and Ronnie would have 8.
That's right. I forgot about that. And then your father was actually gunning to beat him again, but then he was banned by the IFBB, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And it was basically just because he competed in the AAU Federation, right?
Which you were allowed to. They just changed the rule. But so here's like how stories go.
The 19th, this is why I have a hard time putting Schwarzenegger up in this category, is because when you break down all the Olympias, the 1971 Olympia, he was the only contestant.
That was like decent, right? Exactly.
No. I'm pretty sure he was the only contestant because Wida basically banned everybody that competed in AAU. And one
No,
was,
there were some other guys, but right, they weren't any names. That's
oh,
the
I know
thing.
big names.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
in 80 was questionable too. You know, it was like, well, he's
No,
kind
yeah,
of,
80 was a catastrophe. I've never actually seen back in the day. You know, people boo now. People boo Phil Heath and stuff like that.
yes.
But that footage, there's footage of them booing at that
Yeah.
Olympia. And I think that was the first time ever in the history of bodybuilding that anyone had booed
Mm-hmm.
for the winner. But it was bad, you know?
Yeah.
But also, so like here's the thing with my dad is like, yes, he did get screwed over. He also, so when he was doing that show that he wasn't supposed to be doing, Joe Weider and Arnold were in the stands watching. They were at that show. And my dad jumped off stage and went in their face and was posing and was like, you're next, you know? And if it was today, I don't know, maybe if it wasn't like, if you're doing it in Jim Mannion's face, it's like a big difference. But if like another competitor was in the crowd and you got off stage and you like, I'm going to see you.
It'd be no big deal.
Right, exactly. It would be nothing. If anything, it would be like this blessing kind of Nick Walker thing that's going on. You know, if anything, it would make hype. So because he did that, that's when they were like, you know what? You're not even allowed to compete here. You're banned.
I got you.
So they just made it up. So yeah, the only two people that have ever been banned, like that made a significant difference, was Lee Priest and my dad. They literally made that rule up because of my dad, and then instilled it later on, years later, to stop Lee Priest from competing too.
I didn't know that about Lee Priest. I knew he wasn't very well liked, but I didn't know they actually.
I mean, yeah, his other antics definitely didn't help. But yeah, that's what ended up finishing officially, is that he went to the other federation to compete.
Oh, I did not know that. All right. But then he follows a police officer for 25 years, right?
32 years.
32 years. So he was like the Ronnie Coleman before Ronnie Coleman.
Oh, absolutely right. That's what I say all the time. Exactly. And even just size wise, you know, like literally he was what we thought was the biggest you could be.
Yeah, he was pretty much in his day, your dad was pretty much a mass monster.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know, he really was. He was what? He was 235 on stage.
No. He got up to 250 one time, but it was like a sloppy 250. But his normal was a 240, 245. And yeah, that's the argument that I have with people all the time, because I wish that they named the classic division something different. I wish they just named it like, I can never even think of a name because nothing ever works. But when you say it's like the classic division, it's making these kids walk around and say, actually, no, I am trying to be more like Arnold Schwarzenegger and my dad. And they weighed well over the weight requirements for classic.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's so nuts that, you know, you see this like little skinny kid that's like, oh, actually, I'm just trying to be more authentic. And you weigh 45 pounds less than my dad did.
First of all, that's such a crap. It's such crap because nobody goes into the gym saying, I'm going to limit myself.
Yeah, exactly.
To put on. What happens is, you know, and bodybuilding knew this. What basically happens is they know that there was a market for people that can't attain that size like yourself. And they go, well, you know, if we just, you know, put shorts on them like an Old Navy commercial, and we just judge from the waist up, we can make a lot more money. And then all of a sudden, these kids are jumping in, going, "Oh yeah, I could do that. I'd rather do that." It's like the guy who dates the fat girl and goes, "No, I like fat girls." No, you don't. Like,
that's all you can get.
Yeah, that's all you can get. You don't like fat. Nobody likes fat girls. Come on.
That's good. That's good for real. But you know what? In a roundabout way, though, the immense physique, bikini, and now classic has brought all the stage money for bodybuilders up. You know, I assure you, no one on the pro level is complaining. We're only just weirded out when people start to actually give them more respect. My only issue is that I get the argument, you know, like they're always so quick to put a picture next to a picture. That's the go-to today.
Right.
But my thing is how come they don't ever put like Cedric or Sean Roden? You know, they don't put a picture of Dexter. They're not going to ever put a picture of guys that are today still having classic lines, weighing well over the classic weight. But that you know, that doesn't help their narrative. And
no, it doesn't.
So there's plenty of classic guys still in bodybuilding. It doesn't have to be where everyone has to be Big Ramy or Phil Heath. That's not true.
Right. You're 100, and Sean Roden proved that, and Brandon Curry proved that.
Right, Brandon.
And there's a couple of guys coming up. I really like Samson Dowda. I think he has tremendous classic lines, and he's a big dude. He's over 300
Man,
pounds.
if he would just, you know what? If he literally got with a Cito, we would all be fucked.
Yeah, yeah, I think so
That's
too.
it.
I think he's actually working with Meadows now, John
No,
Meadows.
he did just get with Meadows. You're right. Exactly. I did
Yeah,
see that.
I know. And I interviewed him, and he was like, I forgot, 300 or 302 or something like that. And his shape is his X frame and wide clavicle. He looks fantastic, and his lines
He
is
might be, he might be the Lionel Bayeki that we deserve, because he's
yes.
going to
That's
be,
another good example. Yeah,
he's another walking Mr. Olympia forever. And that's
right.
but I use him as an example. He doesn't, I don't think he gets when I use him as an example, because it just comes off negative. But he's a perfect example of the difference in bodybuilding. You can look like him and still never win ever.
Right.
And that's the difference of bodybuilding back in the day. You could have those genetics, you can have that shape.
Mm-hmm.
He works hard, he trains, obviously he's grown muscle. That's hard to do. But then there's the other part of bodybuilding, that is the nailing and dialing in your body to it's almost to an hour. We say a day, but it's not, because we only go on stage for a short amount of time, and you got to get everything done and primed for that time period. And that's the hard part. And that's my biggest issue. That's everyone's biggest issue. So yeah, people like him, I'm angry at him. I'm mad at him, because
which one, Lionel or?
Yeah, Lionel. If he had won, then it would almost helped bodybuilding, because then all the people that want to show Phil's stomach, now they don't have shit. They can't say a goddamn thing, because now Lionel has nailed it. He shredded, good stomach, good everything. But there's going to be a bunch of those guys, and just I don't know.
It looks like I don't know Lionel Becky. I don't know his work ethic. I have no idea. But it looks like there are certain guys that become satisfied at a certain level, where you're like, oh man, if you just put a little bit more gas, you could really. But it's just kind of satisfied.
It's usually 9 out of 10 times. I mean, as long as you don't have some kind of like marital issues or family death or something like that where you can't control, it's usually just because the people you keep around you aren't being real. And a lot of times you'll see guys in other countries. That's why I would love to see Samson come over for a little bit.
Me too.
Because no matter what, if you're the biggest guy in that country, there's not anyone that's going to be like, bro, get on the stair climber and do your glutes, because they are not straight. Just something.
Right.
And I think Lionel in France, I think he's like a god. I think he's like the Serge Nubret over there. So there's no way anyone is ever going to speak to him like that. And I think that's what's going to end up hurting him.
Yeah. How old is he now? I mean, he's been around a while.
He's older than me, and I'm not young. So
yeah. Do you think that was the reason Ramy was always kind of off? In the past?
Exactly. I think when you got out of Kuwait, I also think that they try and make up a lot of things with drugs. So
I've heard the same thing. Dave Palumbo interviewed King Kamali not like last week. He said the same thing. He said that the intake of anabolics in the Middle East is insane.
Yeah. So not only is the quality, it is better. So you should take less, but I think the quality is better, and they take more, and like different types. So any things are just easily more, there's better access, because it's just easily available there in a pharmacy, etc. But then also too, what ends up happening with a lot of pros, and that's usually when they lose their lines, is when things become free, you just do any amounts, if growth is free, why would you not do 10 IUs a day, and that's I think what ends up happening. But when you're poor, it forces you to kind of milk it, which is actually better in the long run. So I think that's,
with the exception of Heidi Chopin, I think you kind of nailed it with the Middle East guys. Ramy and what's the guy's name? The 212 guy. That's
Ashkenani.
Yeah, he kind of seems to, kind of never come in and nail it. And we yet to have seen Hustan Musafa. I'm really excited to see what he looks like in a New York Pro, because he's also with Aceto, and last year he was sick.
Right.
And I remember watching it going, not that I'm not a, I'm not a bodybuilding critic or anything, but I remember watching it going, wow, if this guy came in shape like a little bit, like 10% more, he would wreck everybody on that stage.
Yeah. And it's crazy, because unless you've actually done a show sick, you have no idea how insane it is to even get on stage. Like I would never. I would take all the, because you get in trouble, if you sign a contract and you don't do a show, you have to do it. So it's a big no-no. But there's no way, like I wouldn't be able to like stand. And he was dealing with hemorrhoids.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Like that is,
pain.
bro, that is like next level. Like,
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Christ.
It's embarrassing, but if anybody was has it,
Exactly.
it's no walk in
Right.
the park, man.
So I think he's gonna win New York because I can't imagine now with
Yeah, yeah,
nothing. And I
yeah,
think he feels like how I felt too. Like if he had just A, B, and C, he would have made it to the Olympia. And I think he's got
right.
that on his shoulder.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be him or Justin. But if Mustafa comes in,
Oh, and New York, you think it's Justin and
well, only because Justin won last year.
no, no,
No,
no,
no, no. I
New
mean, I
York.
apologize. He came in second. Ian won, but he was the
Right.
runner-up. So that's since
Yeah,
Ian's
so
not doing it.
it's Nick Walker and Hassan and Justin are gonna be the main ones doing it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then there's Blessing, but we've yet to see what he looks like on
I
stage.
don't I think he's doing Indy. I think he's doing that this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, I think he changed it up. He might be doing both.
I think he's doing both, but I would like to see. I'm excited to see what he looks like because, like you said, man, on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, it's completely different from on
Yeah,
stage. I
no
mean, it
matter what,
is.
no matter what, he's fun, you know?
Oh yeah, I wish there were more people like that. He just has to be careful who he just has to be careful who he picks and chooses to deal with like that because some guys.
For sure. It's a yeah.
So I can't picture William Bonac taking that lightly.
No, yeah, but I think, I've never hung out with Blessing, outside of like work,
Right.
bodybuilding stuff. But I don't think he would ever. I think he actually does have a lot of respect for
Yeah.
the right guys.
Right,
And I think that I think he preps better when he can be verbal and talking shit like that. I think it actually helps him.
Yeah, some guys need to go into hole in the wall and do what they got to do, like a Dorian used to, and then some guys like a him or at the King Kamali back in the day, and they just need to mouth off, and so I guess it gives them confidence. I really don't know, but no, it definitely makes it more exciting because now I can't wait for the New York Pro because of all this. True. And Nick is a freak. I mean, for 26 years old, that kid is just. I mean, he's just, I can't, 20, he doesn't really have any weak body parts at all.
No, he really doesn't. Yeah. I couldn't even win an amateur show at 26. Yeah. It's wild.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was like, and Hunter too, Hunter LeBron, there's a lot of new blood coming up that look really good. Even in the 212, a lot of new blood. Anyway, get back to your dad. He once he lost the Olympia, he was still bodybuilding and he was still winning shows here and there and so on and so forth. And then he took a long time off and he tried the Olympia again, but this time it was kind of over the hill. And that was, I think, which one was it? 84 was the famous one where he held you on stage,
right?
Right. And that's amazing. But it also leads me to the question I was going to ask you. Do you ever get, and I don't ever hear it, and I'm glad, but do you know how, like, let's say when a Michael Douglas first broke into acting, people would say he's never going to be like Kirk Douglas. He's never going to be like his father. That's too big, shoes too big to fill. When Camacho Jr. came into boxing, the people would say, nah, he's never going to be like Macho Camacho Sr. It's just, have you ever heard that?
You're serious?
I have never heard that.
Yeah, it's literally a thing. So it not only does it happen? Look, it definitely is happening a lot less than the Arnold. I'll tell you that. I haven't heard that in a long time. But no, it was like a weekly thing since I got my pro card. Yeah. So I actually turned it around and I kind of turned it against them. Where really, if you think about, and I was just talking about this on Fuad's show that I just did yesterday, is if you think about all the Mr. Olympias, the only person that was ever said was going to win the Mr. Olympia and actually did it was Phil. And maybe Jay, maybe in the beginning, just because of how he looked, that blonde look, they were like, he's going to make it. Otherwise, no one thought Brandon Curry was going to win.
Yeah.
No one thought Dorian was going to win. No one thought Ronnie was going to win.
Never. Yeah.
So really, when you say someone's never really going to win the Olympia, that's kind of like good luck to me, because Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, Sean Ray, Chris Cormier, I mean, you can name endless amount of second places.
It's also a different time period. I hate comparing generation to generation because you're never going to know the time period where when your father won the Olympia, how many competitors were on stage?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
God. 4? I mean, really?
4, right. Right. They're doing it in like a hallway.
Yeah, right. It's a big difference from, you know, getting your pro card and, you know, trying to qualify and, you know, getting on stage. You know, it's just a different world. It doesn't take anything away from your father, because your father was still the best of his generation.
Yeah, right. But what I was saying is that really the ones that were gonna win never did. They never did.
I see what you're saying.
In the history of all the sport, everyone who's like, you're going to actually win doesn't. And then the ones that they're like, you're never going to, they end up doing it. So now I say, actually, if you're a real fan, because I also feed off of negativity. That's kind of like my thing. I use it. So I tell people all the time, if you're a real fan, you'll tell me, hey, you're never going to win Mr. Olympia, because we both know that's going to help me on two different levels. One, on the bodybuilding juju, because that's usually how it goes with history. And two, you know, I feed off of that and it helps me. I don't like people to be like, oh, you look just like your father, you know, you look great, blah, blah, blah. I kind of like the opposite. So now people don't really know what to say, because if you're like, you're never going to be your father, I'm like, oh, you're a real fan. And they're like, no, damn it, I really don't like you, you know? So it's kind of like a funny thing. But no, yeah, it's like the same thing with Hunter. Hunter gets it. You're never going to be your father.
Well, I mean, Hunter is 3 times the size of his father. So when
it's just why can't we be different people?
Yeah, when people say that, I'm like, dude, first of all, he's already won his first pro show. It's like the same thing like you. You already run your New York pro. He already won where he won Tampa, right? You already made it to Olympia. He already made it to the Olympia. What else do you have to do to shut people up? I've heard it once, because, you know, like, as much as I'm into bodybuilding, I work full time, and I have other hobbies. I'm married, which takes a lot of time away. So I'm not trolling constantly or looking at bodybuilding, you know, online. I look at I look at the guys I admire. And so, like, you know, like you mentioned Aceto, I don't think I ever miss a Dave Palumbo Aceto. I think, what is it? The overnight one, you know, I don't think I ever missed that one. I never missed Bro Chat with you guys when you were, you know, I still got to finish the one you're on yesterday. I mean,
Heavy Muscle Radio.
Heavy Muscle Radio, right? I don't think I've ever missed one, especially when Aceto is on. The best is when Aceto and Milos are on, because I have to, like, sit here and I have to rewind it, because I get lost. I go, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right, exactly. They don't either.
Between the three of them, between the Dave Palumbo, Aceto, and Milos, I'm like, it sounds like German. I have no idea what they're talking about. You know, I try my best, but I just, you know, can't do it. But my wife, who's not really much into bodybuilding, she only likes it because of me, loves watching Bro Chat, and she loved it when Luke was on, and she was actually, you know, upset when he passed, and so was I. It was, you know, tragic. But she actually loves Nick and guys. She thinks they're so funny. You know,
they are.
They're hysterical. You know what? Fuad did a couple of things, right? He actually made bodybuilders human, if you will, right? Like, what I'm doing is I'm just bringing you on here and I'm just interviewing you, right? But what he does is he makes it like you guys are regular guys, which you are, but we never see that side.
Right. That's true. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. And the other thing he does, which is great, is he could pick chemistry out really well, because when Luke passed, I was like, it's never going to be the same. And then Nick and Guy come on and I'm like, whoa, this is really good. You know?
Right.
But listen, I'm going to let you go. And, you know, I really appreciate it. So you're doing Chicago, and I'm sure gunning to win Chicago, and then you're gunning to go to Olympia.
Well, now that if this Arnold is real,
right, in September. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pass that up, because I don't know what the real question is.
Especially if you're gonna have it in Cali, right? Are you out in Cali?
Oh God, if they have it here, that's a no-brainer. I'm doing it for sure. But just the idea of, you know, because you have to think, none of the top people are going to do it, because it's 10 days, 12 days before the Olympia. So it wouldn't be smart for them, because they're in the winning for the Olympia.
Right.
I think it's going to end up being my generation. Like I said, the other class level, kind of lower people all doing it.
Like the second
tier. Unless Rolly hops in, which I don't think he would do 2 shows in 12 days.
Right.
I think then it is just the same people that I was talking about. So then I would be in the running to win the Arnold. And I think
if that's the case, yeah, you got to do it.
Because, man, that would be so insane, even just thinking about it. So if I have a chance of getting 1st or 2nd at the Arnold, or battling for 7th, because that's what it's going to be at the Olympia, because now Rolly is back. That means Akeem's out of 6 and Rolly takes that spot. And now we're all battling for 7th place.
Yeah.
So So I think if that's what it ends up being, then I'll probably just do the Arnold.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and that would be, how great would that be that the son of Sergio Oliva wins the Arnold Classic? That would
No
be
way,
fantastic.
it writes itself, man. I know, it's so wild.
So
But I appreciate it.
Of course, man, I'm gonna let you go, but I'm gonna give you one more plug. So what's the Victory clothing line again?
Yeah, victoryclothing.com, and then the subs is cosmic-industry.com.
Best protein I ever had.
Sergio, you say that to all the girls.
Yeah. Sergio, thanks again, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Later.
You got it.